Well, you were talking about like ecological.
Oh, thinking about how a forest is a good model for the way we organize ourselves as humans, and how ultimately our success as a species is going to come down to our ability to communicate. And the internet has given us a way to communicate on it. Like, it's increased the number of connections exponentially. And so now there's a lot more communication going on, and that sort of amplifies, or at least shows us what the spectrum of communication is like. You have everyone from internet trolls to, you know, this whole spectrum of people communicating in different ways, people screaming and yelling at each other digitally. And so ultimately, learning to communicate well, I mean, first we have to formulate what's the goal of our communication. The thought that comes to mind is to be understood, to have what that's in my head, kind of, or in my experience and in my body, be what is like as close to possible as what's in the mind of the person I'm communicating with. And often that doesn't happen. Somebody says something and what ends up being interpreted is way off from what the person intended. And so improving at our communication is going to improve the correlation between what's in my understanding and what's in your understanding. And so to do that, one, we just have to slow down and relax a bit, because when we're always ready to fight and defend, then the littlest thing can be a trigger or something that sets us off in the wrong direction. So being able to slow down that reaction time is crucial. And keeping in mind the actual goal of communication. For some people, honestly, I suppose the goal is just to be right and to win. And if that's the goal, then there's going to be losers. And so we have to just accept this idea of winners and losers. But if we want as many people as possible to be able to win, then the goal, I think, ought to switch more toward learning, curiosity, and the very least, an accurate representation of what it is that the person I'm talking to actually thinks and believes. And so that to me is a far better goal. And when I learn something, or at least, at the very least, I'm learning what it is that another person thinks and perhaps why, that's a win for me. So I still am ultimately wanting to win, but I'm redefining what win means. Win isn't feeling like I proved the other person wrong, even if they don't think I proved them wrong. It's kind of delusional in that sense. Whereas the win for me is learning, improving, adding to my repository of knowledge, whatever that is. Even coming into the conversation with that goal in mind, no matter what the conversation is, changes the whole dynamic and the whole atmosphere of it. And you get that ecological effect that if I'm a curious listener, the person I'm engaging with is far more likely to engage with me the way they would engage with a curious listener. That is to explain what it is that they... Well, I was saying there's the ecological effect of bringing a certain attitude into the conversation, and that is going to affect the way the other person responds. In most cases, sure, there's probably exceptions. Some people are going to be jerks no matter what, but that's not something to be taken personally, anyway. So